What is up, Rat Potential YouTube? Welcome to today's video. We're starting the video not down in the shop, but don't worry. I only have about 30 seconds of stuff to show you here, if that. The sinkhole, which is up here underneath the sign that says rock, I have tried very hard to get my tractor up here to work on it. And last night I about got my tractor stuck in the mud. We're expected to have more rain, which means that all the groundwater, as you can see, that's coming out of this ravine is just going to keep persisting. So I have seceded and I am going back to working on race cars every night instead of trying to fix that. I still have to fix up the driveway a little bit more. I rip wrapped the entirety of my ditch. So rip wrap is like 6 and 8 inch stones. Basically, I sorted them all out by hand and put them all in there. So it's been a mess. It's been hard work, but we're back in the shop. We're back to getting stuff done. So this video is going to be 2 things, ideally, that I get done in this video. First things first, I've got to install the new, to me, mass airflow sensor in the race car. Notice it's like purple. So shout out to my buddy Derek out on the East Coast. He bought a GSLSE that was running and driving, and he just needed a motor. He sent me this. The other thing that he sent me from that car, which was running and driving, the original injectors. So I'm not going to clean these. I'm not going to do anything to them. I am literally going to take these, put new O-rings on them, and stick them in the car. Since I know that the mass airflow sensor works and I know that these injectors are good, that can eliminate 2 of the things out of the system that I think isn't working on this car, which is it starts, it idles, but it won't rev. And the TPS, like, it idles dead nuts smooth, so I wouldn't understand, I could switch the TPS. That's kind of the last thing, but I don't have one. And they're kind of a little bit tricky to adjust. So since this one's idling and not like hunting, right, then I don't want to change it yet. I'm going to start with these because maybe those injectors are clogged. Maybe I don't have enough fuel pressure. I change the fuel pump. Last bit is I have a fuel pressure regulator on the white car out here. I can take that off and put it on here to set it exactly where I need it to eliminate that issue. So I'm going to get to cracking on that. The second thing we need to do is the FD has sprung a little bit of an oil leak. And there's one place that it could be that's going to be really bad and one place that it could be that's going to make my life easy. So it's leaking from right in here. And as you can see on this engine, which was very much also leaking from right in here, that this is the turbo drain. Okay, so the return line for the oil out of the turbo, there's a fitting on here that sticks out, and fitting like a dash 8 goes into it. The dash 8 doesn't quite fit very well in this spot. So I need to reconfigure the drain. I'm pretty sure it's leaking from the seal behind the actual like 2-bolt fitting with the dash 8 threaded piece on it. So I've got to get to that. Is it a super substantial, crazy, massive oil leak? No, but it is making a mess underneath the car, and I don't like oil leaks, especially on cars like that. So I got to get that sorted. The only other thing that could be really bad, just because I know there's a concentration of oil right here, is that if the oil pan is leaking, I'm going to be really irked, or if it's leaking between the front cover and the block, I'm also going to be really irked, because both of those are going to require me to pull the engine back out, which I don't want to do. However, we have driven 1,300 trouble-free miles. Man, got to open this side of the car to get into it. So that's what I need to work on today. I got to ideally get the race car started so that I can drive it out of the garage. And once that happens, we'll be ready to rip. So if this is your first time here, first time you've seen the rally car, this is a 1984 Rx7 that I have 100% completely restored. Every single nut and bolt, every single surface has been repainted, and it's a GSLSE. I'm waiting on some stickers yet, and then we'll get the livery on it, and it's going to look sick. So let's get to swapping that out real quick, and then we'll pull the intake off and swap the injectors. We'll just do one at a time for now. this thing doing? And then it dies. I'm going to change the injectors out, but I don't know that that's necessarily the issue. Okay guys, so short break in the action, okay? Because, well, we've hit a snag. I got a set of OEM GSLC injectors already installed in the fuel rail, right? Yeah. Didn't think to check this part of them, but as it turns out, if you look closely here, you can see that this injector plug, this is a Series 4 turbo injector, this injector plug has a notch on either side, right, and then it has a central little nub in the bottom. Well, as it turns out, my old injectors, which I set over here, are like RC Engineering something 750s. They're a little bit bigger than regular ones. Notice they don't have, oh, I'm dumb. I'll just grind the nub down off the other injectors. I was going to try to grind this thing and modify the connector and do the deal and all of this. I can easily grind that off those other injectors. Alright, crisis averted. I swapped the mass airflow sensor out. It did the same thing, so I went ahead and we started swapping injectors. You guys didn't see me fail at starting it and whatever. I also swapped the starter because if you remember, this one's been grinded a bunch, so we got a fresh starter in there. Cranks every time, 100% of the time. So, I'm going to pull these off. I'm going to grind that little nub off the edge of them so they're flat on the bottom. My plugs, which you can see here, have this offset little notch in them right there by my thumb. Once those are gone, they'll plug right in. We'll see if the injectors were the problem. If it still runs exactly like it was before, then that leads me to believe one of two things is the problem. First thing, fuel pressure. Second thing, the TPS. Those are literally the only two parts of this entire system that I haven't changed. And what I say when I say haven't changed, well, yeah, I haven't changed them, but every single other part of the system, ECU, map sensor, little twisty goo thing on the side here, injectors, MAF, intake manifold, I swapped a different one on, so like the throttle body was different. But I had to use the same TPS for both of them. Yeah, all of that will be the last two things I need to change. So I need to change that. Anyways, whatever. Let's get to putting the injectors and shit back together. We're going to fire it up right now. Alright, everything's back together. New injectors are in. Let's see what we get. Oh yeah, it's loud. Well, we are definitely in worse shape than we were before because now it won't start at all. It really won't start. Okay. Huh. I guess. Let's see. Do we have fuel leaks? Question number one. First, we look under the car. No major puddles. Alright. Let's see. Fuel leaks down here. I don't see any. Injectors are definitely in the holes. We definitely plugged everything back. I mean, the only thing on this throttle body that gets plugged in is the air temp sensor and the TPS. The rest of everything is gone. All those are tightened. This is back on. MAF is still hooked up. We never removed it. I don't know. I think I'm going to jumper the fuel pump on full beans and see if that changes anything. Okay. The injectors have hurt the situation. Really need to see what the fuel pressure is because that's the only variable in this whole situation that I really don't know. And what could be happening is that when it did start on the old injectors, which I knew were good, is that it could be overpowering the injectors and flooding it out, or what could be happening is the fuel pressure could just be going away once it starts running, and after that amount of time. That makes sense. So I don't know. Work on cars, they said. It'd be fun, they said. I will figure this out, I said. So back to me messing with stuff, and I'll let you know what I figure out. Alright lads, well, we were unsuccessful in getting the rally car to move by itself. I need to get a fuel pressure regulator and a gauge so that I can see how much fuel pressure is running through the veins of that beast whenever I'm trying to start it. One of the things that is going to be mildly beneficial, as you can see, is that the FD is in the garage. If you're going to own Rx7s, be mildly prepared for them to have some sort of an issue at some point in time. So anyways, I got an oil leak on this, but one of the things that Richard's car has that's really nice is it has this oil pressure gauge here, which is hooked into the fuel line there, and it's just a simple -4 fitting. So, and I say -4, it's actually a T, a -6 T with a, or I guess a coupler with like a 1/8 MPT spot in it. I don't know if y'all can see it, but it's down in here, this guy, right there. So see the blue? The blue has -6 in, -6 out, and then it has a -4 going vertically. So what I can do real quick, because I need to take this apart to fix an oil leak, is once I figure out, so I probably won't drive this to work tomorrow, or really for the rest of this week. I need to get it apart and try to diagnose this leak before I really put a ton of miles on it still, because it is leaking a little bit. And anyways, so I'm probably going to pull that -6 to -6 fitting with the pressure gauge off of the FD. Thank you, Richard. Fortunately, I have a bucket with some steel braided line that I can use to make an adapter, just a short one, to go from basically like the barb fitting in there to a -6 to a barb fitting, like barb fitting -6, that little thing with the fuel pressure gauge, -6, barb fitting back to my stock fuel rail. And then once I have that in place, I can see how much fuel pressure I have to then figure out if that's the issue. My guess is that the pump that is in this car, which is a Walbro 255, is overpowering the regulator, or the regulator is just jacked up, and whenever I put fuel into it, it doesn't make any pressure. So I don't know. We're gonna find out though. We might not find out in this video, but I'm gonna go ahead tonight. It's getting a little late, but I am gonna go ahead and jack this up, get underneath it, clean everything off really well, get everything nice and nicey clean. I know for sure that this turbo oil feed up here on the front of the engine has a lot of oil around it, so I'm going to target that area, kind of get some of this stuff out of the way, get the intercooler piping off so I can see, get the intercooler out of the way, and we'll see exactly if that's where it's leaking. The other thing that's being weird, and I'll update you guys on this too once I start messing with it, the oil pressure gauge in this car has always like reacted quickly to what's happening, meaning like it goes up and down really fast. So like if you blow up the throttle, it goes like this. And I don't know if that's the gauge or the sender or something being weird, but what I have and what I'm going to do on this car is, let's not scratch my race car here. I have this right here, which don't worry, it's not going to jump out and scare you. Okay, see this? This is a banjo bolt with a mechanical oil pressure gauge wired into it. Now, you're going to be like, ooh, this guy's got some brains, at least that's how I think. On an FD engine by the oil pedestal, which you can't see on this one, but the oil cooler line connects in at the oil pedestal on an FD engine with a banjo bolt. Thus, what I'm going to do to verify that the oil pressure gauge in the dash is either working or not, and make sure that this has proper oil pressure, which I know because the dash shows pressure that it obviously makes oil pressure. I just want to verify that it's not making like 10 at idle and 70 while it's running. If it's doing that, then the front cover, there's an O-ring that seals right here that the oil pump pumps through. If it's doing that, if at idle it doesn't make any pressure, and at revs it makes pressure, most likely that O-ring's leaking. And what happens there, it's this O-ring actually, right here. And what happens, well, that's the main oil feed for the whole entire engine. So if you have a leak there, it's internal to the engine, so it won't leak out of the engine. But that's what's going to cause low to high oil pressure fluctuation, right? And I don't want that at all. But if that is the case, i.e. if my mechanical gauge proves that correctly, I'm going to have to pull this motor back out, pull the pan off, pull the front cover, fix the O-ring, and then put the whole thing back together. Buddy, what are you doing? Quit chewing on your blanket. Anyways, so I have to pull the motor out to get all that fixed, because there's no way, and I guess we'll say this, there is a way, but it's easier for me. I would rather yank the whole motor out, the whole entire thing, pull it all the way out, pull the oil pan off, pull the front cover off, then try to get the front cover off and the oil pan off in the car. Because you can't remove the front cover because you have the big bracket that sits here. So you have to take all that off. And there's just no way. There's not a shot in heck. If it was just the oil pan, I've got a video on the channel doing an oil pan gasket in an FD without you removing your engine. That's not that bad because you can like lower the subframe a little bit and kind of get to everything. Watch the video, it's pretty neat. But I don't know. We're trying to get this thing done for this weekend, or I want it done for this weekend so I can get it back to Chris, and I can move on to just focusing on that, not having to worry too much about this, which this has been pretty damn reliable in the last couple months, or couple weeks, because I've been driving it pretty much everywhere, put 1,300 miles on it, and all I've really had an issue with is an oil leak, and the oil pressure gauge has always been a little jivey. So now that this oil leak is happening, and I'm going to start fixing stuff, we're going to start fixing stuff. If I have to take it apart, we're going to take it more apart, right? So, anyways, that's what I got to get cracking on. So, I don't think I'm going to end the video here, but if I do end up ending the video here, and this is coming up to it, just because it depends on how late I end up working on this tonight and tomorrow, but we'll see you tomorrow working on this. If not, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Get stoked for the race car being close to running. I'm going to build the exhaust this weekend if I'm not working on this pile. And, or we'll get this thing dialed in. You guys will always be learning something on the channel. We've learned today that if your car starts and then shuts off, that it's not the mass airflow sensor. So with that, thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Keep it rad. Alright guys, we're back. We're not stopping right now. I have removed the oil drain. As you can see, it's draining oil just on the ground, not into the engine. Two things also, let me pause my KISS here. Let's see. First off, it's way down there. It's a real pain to get to. I was about yay close to loosening an engine mount and jacking it up so I could get my hand in there better, but we made do. Pro tip number 1268. Tape up your turbos when you're working on your car. You never know, you could get really mad, you could sneeze, you could have a large moth fly into your turbo and ruin it. So as soon as you remove the couplers, tape it up. But anyways, I have a new gasket for this coming, and for now I'm going to clean everything here. Ideally that gasket shows up in the next couple days. If you get it installed, I'll get this nice and cleaned up. And then I'm going to use some, since these 10 mils are hard to get to, because, well here, let me switch cameras, this one's about to die. Okay, so, I was trying to explain a second ago, my camera battery died. Anyways, these 10 mils that I use to put this fitting on, right? while it was off the car. You know, whenever I'm standing over here by my thing, bam, obviously before it had studs, you know, bam diggity, boom skadaggity, we're rocking and rolling. Okay, well the 10 mils, you can't get a dang wrench in there because of the nature of this huge AN fitting here. And then also, you want to know what's real unfortunate? Let me tell you. This AN fitting is so big that you can't actually turn it, because when you have this whole situation in here, right, the AN fitting hits the front cover bolt, thus useless. So I'd be curious if I could, ideally you would have this piece here, the fitting on the block, be like just an inch longer, and then you could put this on, or use a smaller AN fitting. I'm refraining from trying to grind the fitting a little bit to fit, but as long as I get it pretty much snugged down on this little T thing, I can put this on the block, put that on the block, and then tighten them down. But I am going to run to the bolt and nut store and get some hex head machine screws, so they'll look just like this right here. So notice how this has that hex head. The diameter of the head is much smaller. That'll allow me, and it'll be an Allen key, so that'll allow me to actually reach in there to tighten them. I really had an issue. I couldn't get anything into them because that fitting was so big, and then, you know, it's tight squeeze. So that has definitely been the cause of the leak. There's a lot of oil right there, and then that oil gets sprayed everywhere else. So we're going to get that tidied up, and then tomorrow, which I'll probably continue from now, in this video, I'm going to pull the catch can out, and I'll show you where I'm going to put that mechanical oil gauge. So I'm going to go sleep. You guys are going to see me in 10 seconds wearing a different shirt, hopefully, and we'll be working on that. Alright, my dudes, I am fixing to fire this baby up, okay? So, here's what we did. The quick 1, 2, 3 rundown. I robbed the fuel pressure regulator from my buddy's blue FD Rx7, because I had all of the engine and intakes and stuff from that car here. Found this fuel pressure regulator in a box, rigged it up so that I've got fuel pressure now. So now I've got 40 something PSI fuel pressure. We know we're good. But first, before I actually got it set right, I found that the existing fuel rail that I had in this car, this one, okay, right here, old crusty GSLC fuel rail, once I had the fuel pressure regulator hooked up, it wasn't making any pressure, and I was like, what the hell, why aren't we making any pressure, you know, right? Nothing's coming through it, nothing at all. Turns out either the pulsation dampener, I think something was jacked up. It wasn't allowing fuel to go through the pulsation dampener, so I grabbed a spare fuel rail, because I have those, for GSLC, slapped it in here, and now I have the right amount of fuel pressure. So, in theory, this thing should just fire up if I can get the dang door open. So, I apologize to all my neighbors, kind of, but not really, and let's start this rig. Alright, I'm going to call that a mad success. My garage is officially fumigated. Alright, the camera battery didn't die. Well, mad success. The garage is officially fumigated. It's running, obviously not well, but at least it started. It was idling on its own, doing its thing. 40 psi fuel pressure. That fuel pressure regulator seems to be okay. I'm gonna let the garage unfumigate itself, and yeah, mad success. Well, guys, you know, we didn't give up around here. We problem solved. We figured out I probably ought to have those injectors cleaned, and new set of spark plugs, because these are probably fouled. So with that, thanks a bunch for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Keep it red. Alright, so I don't know if we were, I think I need to service that fuel for pressure regulator and clean the injectors, but we were literally dumping fuel. That's not oil, that's fuel. Straight fuel out of the exhaust. So, I was definitely good on it. But hey, you know, for now, it's good. It's good, mad success. We know things are working. We know we're getting closer.